90% of S&P 500 firms publish ESG reports, right? And that's a reflection of how conscious the business community is about and where things are moving, from an ESG compliance standpoint. Even in the region, 67% or thereabouts of banks are reportedly having a screening of their loan portfolio for ESG risk or compliance, right? So the idea here is that we are, in a day and age where it's not only about being environment and sustainability and governance conscious, but also ensuring that we have the right framework that actually reports our ESG, in a framework that actually is truly reflective of where we are from a transparent and an accurate manner. Generally, in any business environment, we say that look, you have to have your policies in alignment with your strategy, and you got to have your processes obviously dovetailing from what your strategy is, and making sure that your performance measurement is aligned with that, right? And it's no different in an ESG context. Unless you actually have a clear ESG strategy and articulated with what you're seeking to do from a measurement, from a metric standpoint, and measurement gives clarity to management, it makes the whole process of managing ESG that much more effective. And which is really where we use as we always use the Balanced ScoreCard framework in driving enterprise performance and strategy. The same logic applies in driving what I would call as ESG compliance and performance measurement, right? Just as we have 4 perspectives: the financial, customer, process, and what we call as learning and growth in a classic BSE framework. The perspectives that one could draw in a ESG context is that of prosperity, which is financial wellness, partnerships, which is to do with community outreach and engagement, planet-oriented processes that obviously makes the processes that much more focused on the planet, and obviously the people, which is the 4th perspective, right? So a classic, what we call as a ESG strategy map that covers these 4 perspectives would in essence have key elements that actually reflect these areas, right? So if I was to look at the framework, the first one is on prosperity and financial wellness, where it is all about sustainable revenue, which is, as we know, what SFDR is all about. And we are talking about having ESG linked funding, having the governance in place, which is to do with your board committees and classic ESG risk management, right? Which all of them collectively contribute to the financial wellness, which is from a prosperity standpoint. The second perspective is what we typically look at as partnerships in the context of ESG, which is in driving green products and also in driving compliance in both environment and socio-economic standpoint. The third and let's say the most interesting part, if I may, in a framework like this is where we have planet-oriented processes, right? Where we are talking about energy consumption. We're talking about both conservation and consumption of energy, measurement of carbon footprint, GHG emissions. Again, if one was to look at the technology context today, and most banks, for example, who actually use technology, drive ESG, from a technology compliance standpoint on ESG data, green IT, as well as how you deliver an integrated delivery. So these are elements that actually go in what we actually call as the planet-oriented processes. And the last but definitely not least, most important, if I may say, is the people aspect, which is to do with the focus on diversity and inclusion, the whole environment of learning and development and training that goes in imparting the knowledge and awareness amongst the community. Health and safety, that's a very critical aspect about the ESG compliance. And in overall creating an awareness, right? I mean, be it in terms of the E part, which is awareness around supply chain disruptions and climate change risk, or let's say the S part, which is sustainability on compliance to labor laws and social investments which are linked to awareness in this context, and the governance aspect, right? Be it in terms of oversight that needs to come along, or the alignment with the regulations, local as well as international regulations and policy guidelines. And most importantly, making sure that you have a strategy and performance measurement alignment. So in essence, I think the larger point here is, if you actually have a framework of this nature in place, not only do you have them holistic, but you're also providing for an opportunity to have measurement in place that may start small, but you eventually have to move in a direction where you are able to have these in place that provide you with a holistic update on how your performance is, quote unquote, from an ESG standpoint.